Welcome back to the Stellar Alignment Collective, where we break down the week's astrology so you can align with the cosmic flow. Now, first, how did everyone do with that powerful solar eclipse? Are you still feeling the ripple effects? Let me know in the comments because the universe is not slowing down. In fact, this week the energy is turning up the heat. We've got Mercury square Jupiter bringing big ideas and even bigger words that could get ahead of us. We'll also have Venus conjunct the South Node, pulling old patterns of love, money, and relationships right back into the spotlight. And ending out the week, we'll have a fiery full moon in the sign of Aries, squaring Jupiter and demanding action and courage. This is not the week to coast. It's a week of big decisions and fiery revelations. So if you've been wondering why things feel so intense, you're really going to want to stick around because I'm breaking down exactly what these transits mean for you and how you can navigate them without getting swept up in the chaos. First up this week, on Wednesday, October 1st, Mercury and Libra will form a square to Jupiter and Cancer, both at 22 degrees. So, this is a big mental energy day. Mercury is the planet of communication, logic, and ideas, while Jupiter expands everything it touches. But because they are squaring each other, there's tension. Our thoughts and words may grow bigger than reality, and it's easy to get swept away by exaggeration, overpromising, or jumping to conclusions. Now, in Libra, Mercury wants fairness and Mercury wants balance and diplomacy. And in Cancer, Jupiter amplifies our feelings and our desire to protect our loved ones and our need for belonging. So when we put those two together, you get conversations fueled by big ideals and big emotions, but not always grounded in practicality. This transit can be wonderful for brainstorming and seeing the bigger picture, but it can also create inflated expectations or idealistic promises that we can't quite keep. So the key is to check the facts, slow down, and balance optimism with realism. And if you feel yourself wanting to say yes to everything, I encourage you to pause. And if you feel tempted to dramatize your story, pause again. This square is teaching us that enthusiasm is powerful, but discernment really keeps us steady. Here are some things I want you to do. I want you to dream big and brainstorm new ideas, but write them down instead of acting immediately on them. Also, engage in balanced and diplomatic conversations, especially in your relationships and with your family members. Let's also double check facts before sharing information or making commitments. And it would also be really good if we could reflect on where optimism and emotional bias might be clouding our judgment. And here's what I want you to avoid: try not to make promises that you cannot realistically keep. And don't overcommit your time, your money, or your energy out of a sense of enthusiasm. Let's also try not to exaggerate stories or bend the truth for approval. And don't ignore the details, okay? Big dreams need small steps in order to succeed. So, this Mercury Jupiter square is almost like a megaphone for our thoughts. It can inspire us to envision more, but it can also magnify illusions. So, the magic lies in dreaming boldly while keeping our feet on the ground. Now, for those of you who are parents, here's some parenting guidance for Mercury square Jupiter. When Mercury in Libra squares Jupiter in Cancer, your children may feel extra chatty or dramatic, okay? Their imaginations are big under this energy, and so are their words. So don't be surprised if your child exaggerates a story from school or they make a huge promise that they can't actually keep, or they insist on an idea that sounds wonderful, but it isn't very practical. So, this really isn't about dishonesty. It's about enthusiasm, unbridled enthusiasm spilling over. And Mercury fuels the mind, and Jupiter magnifies everything it touches. So, children may genuinely believe their ideas or their stories as they are telling them. So, as parents, the key is to guide your child with gentle grounding, validate their excitement, but help them to slow down and check the facts and to learn the difference between dreaming and doing. This can be a wonderful teaching moment about balancing imagination with responsibility. Here's what I want you to do, parents. Okay. I want you to teach the value of double checking details before making promises and channel extra enthusiasm into fun projects for your children like art, journaling, or play acting. Also, we can reinforce that it's okay to dream big, but our plans need solid steps. And here's what I want you to avoid. So don't shut down your child's excitement with a harsh, oh, that's not realistic. Okay. Try not to do that. And don't overload them with too many activities because they seem eager. All right. Also, let's avoid dismissing their ideas and instead acknowledge the inspiration while guiding it or channeling it in a different way. So this Mercury Jupiter square reminds us that children, they're natural visionaries, and our job isn't to shrink their dreams, but to give them roots and to teach them how to bring those big, beautiful ideas into reality. And next up on Saturday, October 4th, we will see Venus conjuncting the South Node at 18 degrees of Virgo. So, what is this going to mean for us? Well, Venus is the planet of love, beauty, values, and relationships. And the South Node represents our past, old patterns, karmic attachments, and cycles that need to be released. So, when these two come together in Virgo, the sign of service, perfection, and details, we are being invited to reflect on where we may be holding on to relationships or habits or even self criticism that no longer serves our growth. And this can stir up old relationship dynamics or patterns of overgiving or even perfectionism in love. You might notice ex partners resurfacing or memories of past loves or even a pull toward old ways of relating. So it's not necessarily about going back, it's about seeing what needs closure. Think of it as a cosmic detox for your heart. The universe is showing us what's outdated so that we can clear space for healthier and more aligned connections in the future. It's also a beautiful time to reevaluate your values. So, what do you truly want in your relationships? And where have you been settling for less than you deserve? Remember, the South Node isn't about punishment, okay? It's about release and letting go of karmic debris so that we can step forward into new patterns with the North Node in Pisces, which really calls us toward compassion and spiritual connection. So this week, I want you to slow down and notice what themes come up in your relationships and in your heart, because the cosmos is really inviting you to let go of what no longer fits so that you can create more space for love, beauty, and peace. So here's what I want you to do. You can journal about recurring relationship patterns that keep showing up for you. Also, practice forgiveness either for yourself or for others. And you can clear physical clutter, especially old mementos from the past, or things that you're carrying from old relationships. Also, reflect on your values. What feels aligned and what just doesn't work for you anymore? And here's what I want you to avoid, okay? Don't fall back into unhealthy relationship dynamics just because they feel familiar. And don't ignore your intuition in favor of old logical justifications. And try not to hold on to physical or emotional baggage that weighs you down. For those of you who are parents, here is parenting guidance for Venus conjunct the South Node. So when Venus meets the South Node in the sign of Virgo, it's not just about relationships for adults. It can also show up in the way our children process love, connection, and expectations. So children may feel extra sensitive to criticism under this influence, especially if they already put pressure on themselves to be perfect, okay? Because Virgo energy wants to improve and refine. But when paired with the South Node, it can bring up old patterns like people pleasing or perfectionism or overgiving. So, as parents, this is a wonderful weekend to notice where your children might be carrying those same patterns too. Do you notice that they apologize too much? Or do they feel like they need to be good or helpful in order to be loved? This transit is calling us to gently break those cycles. So here's what I want you to do, parents. This is what I want you to remember. I want you to offer extra reassurance and let your child know that they are loved just as they are and not for what they do, but for who they are. And use this as a teaching moment about forgiveness and help your children to release guilt or grudges. You can also practice gratitude as a family and name things you love about each other that goes beyond just what you do or your achievements. And here's what I want you to avoid. Don't nitpick small mistakes because children may take it harder under this energy. And try not to pressure your child to be helpful or to behave perfectly in order to earn your approval or affection. And try not to compare your child to their siblings or peers or your own childhood standards. And don't ignore their emotional signals. They may not say they feel overwhelmed, but they may show it. Okay? So this Venus South Node transit is a chance, gives us the potential to heal family patterns of perfectionism and conditional love. The best gift that you can give your children this weekend is unconditional acceptance, and remind them that they are worthy, they are lovable, they're perfect and whole exactly as they are. And finally, we will have a full moon at 14 degrees of Aries on Monday, October 6th. Now, the full moon in Aries, it's a fiery lunation, okay? Because Aries energy is bold, direct, and ready for action. And a full moon always brings things to light. So what's been hidden or building beneath the surface comes up for clarity and release. And in the sign of Aries, the focus is on independence, courage, and standing in your truth. But this full moon is squaring Jupiter, and that's like throwing gasoline on the fire. So emotions and reactions may feel bigger than life. We might feel overly confident or impulsive or really driven to push past our limits. Jupiter expands everything it touches. So small frustrations can suddenly feel huge, and bold ideas can become wild overcommitments if we're not grounded. On top of that, during this same time, we will have Mercury squaring Pluto. So when you add that into the mix, this is an intense mental and communication transit, and words carry extra weight. So conversations may come up about hidden truths, secrets, or uncomfortable realities, and power struggles are also possible. People may even be more forceful, manipulative with their opinions. The positive side of this is that the energy supports deep insight, psychological breakthroughs, and honest conversations that cut through the fluff. During this full moon, Saturn will be on the midheaven of the United States in the United States natal chart. So, on a collective level, something even bigger is happening when Saturn is conjunct that top angle. The midheaven represents public life, leadership, reputation, and national direction. So, when Saturn stations at this point or is conjunct this point, there's a demand for accountability and for maturity and for responsibility. And for the United States, this could bring news around leadership or government or public institutions, potentially reforms, restrictions, or events that really highlight what needs to be taken seriously. It's a sobering influence against all of the fiery Aries energy. So, how do we navigate our way through this? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to be courageous, but also thoughtful, and take initiative in your own life. So, you can start something new, you can set intentions, or make a bold move, but I want you to plan before you leap. You can also use the Mercury-Pluto energy for truth seeking through journaling, therapy, honest conversations, or digging into research. Remember to ground yourself and spend some time in nature or meditate and move your body to release that extra fiery energy. Here's what I don't want you to do, all right? Don't let your emotions run the show. And avoid impulsive reactions or making big commitments in the heat of the moment. And don't overpromise or overindulge, because Jupiter can tempt us to go all in without really thinking. And try to avoid power struggles in your conversations. If something feels manipulative or controlling, step back instead of getting pulled in. And during this time, I also want you to remember not to neglect your self-care. This is a high energy lunation, and without that grounding, emotional overwhelm can really hit hard. So this Aries full moon is fiery, it's passionate and illuminating, and it can help us to claim our independence and act with courage. But with Jupiter, Mercury, Pluto, and Saturn all in the mix as well, it's important to slow down, to choose your words wisely, and focus on building something real and lasting. And on the personal level, it's about balancing bold action with mindfulness. But on the collective level, we may see serious turning points for leadership and national direction. So as we move through this week, remember, be bold, but be wise. And for those of you who are parents, here is your parenting guidance for this full moon. Now let's talk about how this energy might show up for our children. Aries is fiery and fast and impulsive. And with Jupiter amplifying things, children may be extra excitable, restless, or quick to react. Mercury square Pluto can also bring intense words or strong opinions, even from young children, okay? And Saturn's influence here reminds us that structure and guidance are essential right now. So for parents, here are some ways to support your children during this full moon. Channel that fire energy into safe outlets such as sports, running, dance, or creative play, because movement is going to help your children to process their emotions. And encourage honest expression. Let your child share their feelings without judgment, even if it comes out a little dramatic, okay? And model calm communication. If conversations get heated, show your child how to pause, breathe, and try again. And parents, this is what I want you to avoid, okay? Don't dismiss your child's big feelings as being too much, okay? Under this sky, their emotions really do feel huge. They feel larger than life to them. So validate their feelings. Avoid harsh discipline in the heat of the moment because that can really escalate power struggles. And don't overload your child's schedule because too much stimulation can lead to meltdowns. And avoid comparing them to others because Aries energy is all about individuality. So, this full moon is a chance to help children learn the balance between courage and patience, and between speaking up and listening. And when we guide them with structure and a sense of empathy, they will feel safe to explore their independence without burning out or butting heads unnecessarily. So, those are our transits for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Set your intention about how you want to use this energy, how to make this energy work for you. I wish you all good luck this week, and may the force be with you.